Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is awesome!
Hello and welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. There's not much wrestling going round at the moment, but the main shows in America. So I'm going to break my rule and actually look at AEW All Out from the 5th of September 2020. It's one of AEW's biggest pay-per-views of the year, and it's fair to say that it was fair to middling from a certain point. And if you don't know what that point is, you obviously haven't watched the show. As I always say, it's always worth watching the show, forming your own opinions, but these are my opinions and what I thought of the individual matches as well as the main show. So, we start off with some pre-show matches, which I'm going to read off the results for now. It was Joey Janela with Sonny Kiss, and he defeated Serpentico with Luther. Two very strange individuals there, and the other two as well. Serpentico is quite strange, and so is Luther. But Joey Janela picks up the victory alongside his newly formed tag team with Sonny Kiss. And Private Party, Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn defeated the Dark Order of Alex Reynolds and John Silver. Not Long John Silver, but just John Silver. Two quite forgettable matches, really, as far as it goes, which is why I haven't done any sort of big talk about them. Pre-show matches, it's a way to get talent on the card. Someone's got to start, and they did a fair job. They're just not matches that I was interested in, which is a shame, but there you go. So many members of the Dark Order, you'll get to see more of them later on in the night. Anyway, we're on to the main show. It is in Jacksonville, Florida, which I didn't mention before. Daly's Place seems to be in long partnership with Daly's Place that AEW has formed, and all of the wrestling that we know at the moment is happening in one area, which is Florida, in one state. I'm sure there's other companies out there that are doing shows in America. I know some of them in the UK now are putting on shows. I can guarantee that in the UK they are probably doing them illegally. But hey, this is AEW. Let's get on with it. That is it's in America, so they have different rules over there. Anyway, we're going to the first match. It is Big Swole versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, in a tooth and nail match. Now, like I say, every show's got to have a starter, and this was it. So it was a pre-recorded match that took place in Britt Baker's dental office, of all places, so something new. And for what it was, I thought this was quite fun. It got the elements of the horror. So Big Swole looking for Britt Baker early on. Britt Baker turning up wearing the face mask that she's now become accustomed to. And we relate to her wearing that mask, sneaking around the corner in the shadows, stalking Big Swole. So we've got a bit of a horror movie situation going off here. They start fighting. Britt Baker hits Big Swole over the head with a pan, I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was a diploma, actually. And Big Swole gets a tray, smacks Reva over the head with it, smacks Britt Baker over the head with it. And to be fair to these ladies, they were going at each other bit by bit by bit. They were tearing each other down. They fought to the outside. Reba showing that she is the sort of comedy element of this, but it wasn't really a comical match apart from where it was set. Reba ends up in the dumpster outside. They fight back inside. That's Big Swole and Britt Baker. They fight back into the building. and eventually ending up in one of the surgeries. Britt Baker trying to stab Big Swole with some lidocaine or whatever it was, some kind of anesthesia. That is turned round and it's in Britt Baker's leg. So, you know, I'll give Britt Baker some credit here. She is actually one of my favourite female wrestlers in the American wrestling scene at this point in time, and she took one for the team here, taking a needle to the leg. Obviously it was a sterilised needle, but needle nonetheless, you know, as if you're not doing anything else with it, that is pretty big. So yeah, that happens. Britt Baker struggles to walk, she ends up on a bed, then you get the laughing gas, and Big Swole wins by knockout. So yeah, I mean, whilst the gas was being applied as well, I did notice this. You got JR on the commentary desk shouting, "I love this stuff." Yeah, I'm sure you do, JR. I'm sure you do. Anyway, I'm going to give this 2 cheap shots out of 5. Big props for Britt Baker taking the needle to the leg and working with what they had in terms of a dental office, but it was fun in parts, bit ridiculous in others, and ultimately I would have probably rather have seen these two fight it out in the confines of a squared circle. Up next, a tag team match. It is the Jurassic Express, that is Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus the Young Bucks, Nick and Matt Jackson. Now this match went on for quite a while. It was pretty decent, and the Young Bucks showing here that they are getting more aggressive with their tag teaming. You know, they're all fun, they do the pose, they get the bucks and everything else falling from the ceiling, but here they really showed what they were made of. And I like the direction that the Young Bucks are going in, that little bit more aggression, that little bit more need to have gold around their waists, which we haven't seen from the Young Bucks in AEW, in my opinion. They've always been back, you know, in the back areas, and you know, obviously they're part of the setting up and the part of the backstage area as well, but the Young Bucks are considered the best tag team in the world, and they still don't have the championships. Happy with what happens later on, but don't know where they're going to go from this, because it's been teased that the elite is fracturing, so to speak. Anyway, the Young Bucks would pick up the victory as Luchasaurus tried to jump from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring onto the Young Bucks, missing completely, landing on the wrestlers at ringside. It was at this point that the Young Bucks hit the BTE trigger on, it was on Jungle Boy, of course, because Luchasaurus was outside, on Jungle Boy, picking up the victory. Interestingly though, as this was a tag team match, and all the things that they did a couple of months ago with FTR saying they need tag ropes, they need a 5 count, there was no 5 count here. It was a traditional tag team match. There was no referee saying, no, you need to get out of there. It's one thing that WWE does do very, very well, is actually use the rules. So yeah, apart from that, I really enjoyed this match, and like I say, the Young Bucks showing a lot of aggression here. I'm going to give this 4 cheap shots out of 5. Really enjoyed this one. Very good tag team match between 2 excellent tag teams. The most forgettable match of the night is coming next, and it is the Casino Battle Royal with lots of fanfare going into it. But apart from that, yeah, so I'm going to read down the participants as they came out. But apart from that, yeah, it was fair to middling, and it didn't last as long as the Tag Team Championship match. So in the first round of entrance, we get the clubs, which is Trent, Christopher Daniels, Jake Hager, The Blade, and Rey Phoenix. So they battle for a couple of minutes. I think it's about 2 minutes intervals. And then we get the next lot coming in, which is the Diamonds. And that is Frankie Kazarian, Will Hobbs, Chuck Taylor, Santana and Ortiz. So yeah, we get Santana, Ortiz entering at the same time. Lots of things like that happening, which took me out of it a little bit. Would have been nice to see the tag teams split a little bit, just for interest. We get Billy Gunn, Penta L0M, so it's Pentagon Jr., and Ricky Starks, the Unlimited Ricky Starks, or the Ultimate Ricky Starks, I don't even know what it's called anymore. Brian Cage and Darby Allin. Of course, Darby Allin having a big feud with Ricky Starks recently, and with Brian Cage. Again, it would have been nice to see the different tag teams come in at different times, and they were the Hearts. Next, we've got the Spades, which is Sean Spears, who didn't last very long, incidentally, Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, Sonny Kiss, and Lance Archer, with the Joker in the pack being the one that we didn't know who it was, and it was Matt Sydal, someone who was very much a high flyer, but feeling quite sorry for him at this point in time, even though I laughed so hard that it was really funny. That the chap is known for high flying. He got up on the top rope when he got in, tried to do his patented 450, or what's it called now? Not a moonsault. Shooting star press, that's the one. Patented shooting star press and landing on his ass. As one of the reviews that I watched mentioned, he pretty much is the new Shockmaster for this generation. That is going to haunt him for a long time to come. But unlike the Shockmaster, Matt Sydal did get on Twitter, on social media. All the social media platforms are available to poke fun of himself for that botch, and no doubt Matthew from Botchamania is going to have a field day with that one. So we come down to the last couple of people. It comes down to Eddie Kingston and Lance Archer. For some reason, Jake the Snake is like trying to beat Eddie Kingston with a bag. I think it had a snake in it. I don't know. Didn't really have the desired effect, and I just found this match really boring. I enjoyed the concept the first time they did it, but like looking at it more, it's not a battle royal at all. Because a battle royal, they're all in the ring, and they're not all in the ring. Yes, they come out in fives, but like I say, it would have been nice to see some of the tag teams split up a little bit and do it that way. But there was just no enjoyment in this one for me. I am glad that Lance Archer did win this one. The Murder Hawk gets an AEW Championship title shot. My main concern here is that Moxley is on an absolute roll, and Lance Archer won't even get a look in at the potential of gaining that championship. So, having gone for the TNT Championship and lost, he now looks to the World Championship and most likely will lose. Where does this put Lance Archer? Because I really like Lance Archer. He's really, really good. He's got a great character. He's out there with Jake the Snake, one of the best. Although I don't think Jake's doing much for him, it's good to see him there, definitely. Lance Archer is the winner of the Casino Battle Royal. And like I say, Matt Sydal was definitely the Joker in this one. I'm going to give this 2 out of 5 cheap shots because Lance Archer won, that gets 1 star, and Matt Sydal's botch gets another star. So that is the way I'm reviewing this one. Last man standing match next is the Broken Rules match. So basically, last man standing false count anywhere, no disqualifications, all that kind of stuff. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara, and I'm just going to say this: Matt Hardy wins. I lost enjoyment in this match and possibly in the rest of the pay-per-view, having seen what happened to Matt Hardy and them carrying on. Basically, they went up on a scissor lift. It started in the back, they were fighting. They went up on a scissor lift for a spot. The scissor lift, or where they positioned the boxes for them to fall, was not in the right place, or they weren't quite expecting them to jump so far. Matt Hardy hit hard, the back of his head on the concrete, and I've never seen anything more scary than that happening to someone and them carrying on. It's at this point that AEW management, the referee, once that's happened, that should mean something. It's this point where they should have stepped in and said, no, not doing any more. I know there was bigger implications story-wise, but is that really worth risking the health and safety and well-being of one of your performers? No, it's not. I'm sure you can get around it by doing some other kind of storyline with him. But that was nasty. And then him climbing up a scaffold to finish the match. The man's concussed. There was no way he wouldn't be concussed. He fell from probably 15-20 feet onto concrete and smacked the back of his head on the floor. Bad AEW. No more. That is just dumb. Chair shots to the head. That was bad. But this, I know it was an accident, but there's certain things where you just have to say no more. Just finish the match. Just get Guevara to pin Matt Hardy and write something in later. You know, he could come back as broken Matt Hardy at that point, or someone else. He's got a vessel, you know, and he can get another vessel. Matt Hardy wins. That is my rant over for that match. I'm not going to explain anything else about it because I switched off. I'm going to change this. Actually, I was giving it 1 cheap shot out of 5. I'm going to give it 0 cheap shots out of 5 because AEW management should have stepped in there and said no. Just no. Just not doing it. So we get the AEW Women's Championship match next, and it's an interesting one because it's Hikaru Shida, who is the AEW Women's Champion at this point in time, versus Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's Champion. Of course, NWA has not come back to our television screens just yet, so all of their talent is going out and about. Of course, Ricky Starks we've got in AEW, as well as Eddie Kingston. You've got Wade Barrett on commentary in NXT, and now Thunder Rosa on this match, and these two women just beat the tar out of each other, and it's pretty good. Love Thunder Rosa. Just get the feeling that there wasn't much chemistry there, and they hadn't had a lot of time to work on that chemistry. Plus Japan, Mexico, there must have been a language barrier there when they were preparing this match. It was good for what it was. It was fair to middling. I'm going to give this 2.5 cheap shots out of 5. Hikaru Shida picking up the victory, retaining her AEW Championship with a knee strike to the back of the head of Thunder Rosa, and to retain the championship. On to the next match. It is a cluster match. a 8-man tag match between the Dark Order and the Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky and Matt Cardona. So all through the storyline with Colt Cabana and the Dark Order, Brody Lee has been really nice to Colt Cabana. in this one. He gave him the opportunity to pick up the victory in what was a pretty decent match. It was a cluster, and it's a way to get them all on, but Brody Lee is the TNT champion. Knows a way to do what they did afterwards, but surely it should have been, this match should have been on AEW Dynamite, and the TNT Championship match should be on the pay-per-view. That is what pay-per-views are for, and I've called WWE out for this, and we now get AEW doing the same thing. So yeah, the Natural Nightmares, Scorpio Sky, Matt Cardona do pick up the victory here. They roll up Colt Cabana after he tries to hit a moonsault, having Brody Lee beaten up having beaten up the other team to the point where Brody Lee was winning. Gave Colt Cabana the chance to get the victory, tried one more move, didn't work, got the roll up, and the Natural Nightmares won. And we saw the cult-like reaction of Mr. Brody Lee towards Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana playing like he did, like, whoa, what happened? I don't understand. Yes you do, Colt, yes you do. 2 cheap shots out of 5 for this one. 8-man tags, really difficult to follow, especially when there's no rules, it seems, in AEW still, and fighting all over the place and stuff like that. But I was glad that the Natural Nightmares won. And afterwards it was announced that Tony Khan had given Dustin a title shot for the TNT Championship on AEW Dynamite the following Wednesday. So we're back to Wednesdays, which I still haven't seen as of this point. World Tag Team Championship match next. It is FTR versus Page and Omega. They've had an over 200-day reign as tag team champions. FTR have come in with a lot of fanfare, and they've done exactly what they needed to do. They've got a coach in Tully Blanchard, who was a tag team veteran, is a tag team veteran, tag team expert. FTR also tag team experts, very much in the line of the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. And yeah, it's just a match made in heaven. But where's Sean Spears in all this? He is in the Battle Royal with no Tully Blanchard. So what happened there? I don't know. It was never really explained. Anyway, we would get new tag team champions, having FTR go over Omega and Hangman with a spike pile driver onto Hangman Page, and it was Kenny Omega who was making the mistakes this time. And having been kicked out of the Elite by the Young Bucks and costing them the title match that they had worked so hard for, this seems like a bit of a downer to me. I love Hangman Page, love Kenny Omega, and but I do watch the shows every week, and I love FTR. FTR were underused in the WWE. They're finally getting the credit that they deserve for their actual tag team wrestling, and that's why I really liked this one. FTR are the new tag team champions going forward, and it'd be interesting to see where that goes in future with a tag team division that is so bursting at the seams with talent. And I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 cheap shots because I can. Not a perfect match by any means, but it was damn close, and it's certainly one of the better matches on this show. So moving on to the double main event now. Who'd have thought I would be saying this? It is a Mimosa Mayhem match, or as I have dubbed it, a Bucks Fizz brawl. because that's what we call orange juice and champagne in England. So the Bucks Fizz Brawl, Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho. He is a demo guard, he is Le Champion, and he got drowned in mimosa or Bucks Fizz, depending on where you are in the world. So yeah, this match was really fun. They were fighting, it was an interesting setup. They had two vats of mimosa for the wrestlers to potentially fall into. But the interesting thing about this match, even though it had a stipulation, is that you could also submit and you could also be pinned. Now, took that element out of it, because we knew what was going to happen. We know they're putting on a special match. We know what's going to happen. Someone's going to go swimming in a paddling pool full of orange juice or orange water or whatever it was. I'm guessing they didn't have that much champagne. Anyway, yeah, really fun match. They beat the snot out of each other, these two. They've got great chemistry. I would actually watch these two over and over and over again. With Orange Cassidy picking up the victory here, you'd probably say that was the rubber match, but I've got a feeling that Jericho won't let this go. The first ever AEW champion with a little bit of the bubbly has now been reduced to swimming in orange juice by Orange Cassidy. And there are people out there that hate Orange Cassidy. I'm not one of them. I think he's absolutely awesome, and he has proven that over the past couple of months against Jericho, and Jericho really bringing out that side of Orange Cassidy, which has been fantastic. And he's gone from being the side man of the Best Friends to a main event player in my book, and because of him, but because of the time that Jericho is giving him, a bit like the Pineapple Pete thing with Shuggy D. Shuggy D has now left the company and he's started to travel around again, but he's concentrated on Orange Cassidy, and it's worked. It's really worked. And I can't see Orange Cassidy going for the main title, but I can certainly see him as the TNT champion down the road. So he wins by a double Superman punch as Jericho is teetering on the outside over the vat of orange juice. The second one makes Jericho collapse into the mimosa or the Bucks Fizz, and Jericho gets submerged in the vat of Bucks Fizz. Orange Cassidy wins. I can live with this, and live with it I shall. I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 cheap shots. Really good match. Really enjoyed this one. They'd taken the element of submission and things like that out, then it would have been a lot better. But obviously there was no rope breaks or anything, but yeah, I think just concentrating on the vat of orange juice would have made this more interesting, because they would have been fighting more on the outside. I like the setup of it though, with the orange juice at the outside, a bit like a casket match, going from the ring to the orange juice, and I did really like that. But that's why I'm giving this 4 out of 5 cheap shots. AEW Championship match next. It is MJF Better Than You versus the Mox, John Moxley, who is the current AEW champion. So this match, it had blood in it, which I'm not a big fan of anymore. I've got to admit, maybe it's my age. AEW Championship match next. It is John Moxley, the current World Heavyweight Champion of AEW, versus Better Than You, MJF, with Wardlow. These two beat the tar out of each other. Really good match. Really enjoyed this one. Both of these guys, which made a lot of difference in viewing for me. And yeah, MJF showed that he's a main event player, but 2020 is not quite his year just yet. Now, this is where the AEW ranking system has played really well. Doesn't really work in other divisions in the, in AEW. I mean, we've got the Murder Hawk going for the AEW Championship. I don't even know if he's won a match for a while. And he's going for the championship. So where's this ranking system that we're talking about here? Anyway, they beat each other senseless. They fought outside, they fought inside. Bearing in mind, the paradigm shift was banned, and there was no other stipulations that I knew of that were happening in this match. The referees let a lot go in AEW, and I do quite like that. It's like an attitude era thing, but still, at least just count slow or something, Make them want to get back in the ring before they carry on beating the snot out of each other. It just adds that element of surprise, that element of daring, or how long are they going to fight for outside the ring, that kind of thing. But it would be Wardlow that would cost MJF the championship here, because he was distracting the referee, thinking that MJF was going to use the ring to beat down Jon Moxley, but Jon Moxley saw this happening, hit the paradigm shift behind the referee's back, and picked up the victory, with Wardlow looking on in despair. So we can only speculate. We don't know what's happening with that. It's obviously leading up to a Wardlow MJF kind of feud, but it's going to be a bit further down the line, I think, with this one. But again, Jon Moxley picking up the victory and retaining the AEW Championship, which is why I said I am really quite concerned about the Murder Hawk going for the championship in this one. So yeah, I'm going to give this one 4 cheap shots out of 5, and it's well deserved. It was really well thought out match. It told a really good story from start to finish. MJF better than you, but didn't pick up the victory in this one, and he can now use the fact that Wardlow distracted the referee to gain perhaps another championship match and use that against him. So apart from the last couple of matches and a couple of matches in between, it was a fair to middling pay-per-view for me. I'm not the biggest fan of AEW. I watch it, it's wrestling, I do enjoy it, but I still prefer WWE. That's just me. Hate comments typing out now. Anyway, so the last 2 matches really saved it for me, but the fact that Matt Hardy got knocked out, and quite clearly knocked out, he did not move, and once he came around, so I know I'm fine, but he was not fine. And I think they AEW need to look at that. They really need to look at that. They made a big thing about health insurance and things like that WWE didn't pay for medical bills or whatever. That's because WWE have got their own doctors. They don't need to cover medical bills because they can just send them to their own doctors. That works. And there was a big thing about that. They called them out, and then this happens, and no one made that call. Someone higher than Aubrey Edwards, who I absolutely love as a referee. She's really good at what she does, and she's a very big on-air talent at this point in time. Someone higher than her should have come down or been in her ear and say, no, stop it, stop the match, finished. Matt Hardy didn't lose, it was just stoppage. There's no draws in a street fight, or you could have played it all sorts of different ways with that storyline. You can't have a draw in a broken rules match, that kind of thing. But apparently Matt Hardy's missus isn't very happy with the way they handled that, and neither am I. So I'm going to give the whole show a fair to middling 3 out of 5 cheap shots overall. So, should you watch this pay-per-view? The answer is yes. If you're a wrestling fan and you like AEW, watch it. But don't expect anything spectacular out of this one. Even the gimmick matches weren't great. They were a lot of fun, but they weren't great. And the Broken Rules match kind of soured the whole thing for me, and it seems like that soured a lot of people's views on this pay-per-view, which is a shame because the last two WWE pay-per-views have been pretty damn good, and they've continued stories, and they've been fair, and they've not endangered anybody unnecessarily with drops onto sheer concrete. So that is my thoughts on AEW All Out. It's the first All Out. It's the first AEW pay-per-view I've done for a very long time. So yeah, I think this is probably the reason why I don't do them. I just sit and watch them because I'm not big into AEW. Appreciate what they're trying to do, but for all of their effort trying to not be WWE, they tend to not be WWE in the worst kind of ways, but then try and be WWE in everything else. So yeah, it's just that there's too many tag teams in a tag division that's overfilled with tag teams, and there's not much going on outside of the tag team title picture, which is a shame. And the women's division is non-existent, so much so that they've had to get Thunder Rosa in. John Moxley, love. Jericho, love. Orange Cassidy, fantastic. And there's a few others in between. But apart from that, it is AEW. Anyway, that is my thoughts on All Out. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. And I will see you next time, Cheap Shot Nation. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.